Hello everyone. So last time I broke down the mega family of the Smiths and Curiouses, and now it is time for me to talk about the Beaker family, and they are one of the few exclusively human families in Strangetown, but they also have their own interesting lineage that I'm going to delve into in this video. So I'm going to first discuss the first generation of this family, and there are four original families that are tied to this lineage, which are the Beakers, the Halfdanarsons, Salamises, and the McGorks. But I'm going to talk about the Beakers first. So the first person in discussion is Canute Beaker, who was a family sim in his lifetime. He lived a long life since he made it to elderhood. His name is either a play of can it or can not, which shows some negative traits with either him being too talkative or just not able to do a whole lot. His hair was brown before it turned gray. His personality is kind of sloppy, kind of shy, kind of lazy, kind of playful, and kind of nice, while his interests are in politics, travel, entertainment, and work. Next is Gertrude Beaker, who is the wife of Canute Beaker and was a fortune sim throughout her life. Those two aspirations go well together. So, she lived a long life since she made it to elderhood. Her hair was black before it turned gray. Her personality is kind of neat, outgoing, lazy, playful, and grouchy, while her interests are in food, crime, sports, and work. Hopefully I say these next few names properly, but the next person and the next family we're going to discuss are the Halfdanarsons, and the first person is Ingibjorg Halfdanarson, who was a romance sim in her lifetime. So she lived a long life since she made it to elderhood. Her hair was blonde before it turned gray. Her personality was, or is, neat, kind of shy, lazy, playful, and in between grouchy and nice, while her interests are in politics, crime, sports, entertainment, and work. So her husband is Leif Halfdanarson, who was a fortune sim in his lifetime. I don't know how compatible these two were. It could go either way in my opinion. So he lived a long life since he made it to elderhood, and his hair was red before it turned gray. His personality is kind of neat, in between shy and outgoing, active, serious, and grouchy, and his interests are in the weather, paranormal, health, and travel. Now we're going to move on to the second generation of this branch, and we're going to start with Bjorn Beaker, who is the son of Gertrude and Canute Beaker. So he lived a long life since he made it to elderhood, and his hair was blonde before it turned gray. He was a romance sim throughout his entire life. His personality is sloppy, outgoing, lazy, kind of playful, and nice, while his interests are in the weather, culture, money, paranormal, health, and entertainment. Now we are going to speak about Gundrun Beaker, who is the wife of Bjorn Beaker and the daughter of Ingibjorg and Leif Halfdanarson, and she, like her husband, was a romance sim within her lifetime, which makes them actually very compatible. I see this as them being married and going well together, but they have a very untraditional marriage where it was either an open marriage or they had agreements where they could see other people or do whatever they want. And with their children being odd, I could see how their unconventional lifestyle could affect children. So she lived a long life since she made it to elderhood, and her hair was brown before it turned gray. Her personality is sloppy, outgoing, lazy, kind of playful, and nice, while her interests are in the environment, health, travel, and crime. So now we are going to talk about Circe's lineage, and the first person we are going to discuss is Andros Salamis, who was a romance sim throughout his life. If you haven't noticed already, there are quite a lot of romance sims in this family tree. So, he lived a long life since he did make it to elderhood, and his hair was brown before it turned gray. His personality was sloppy, outgoing, lazy, kind of playful, and kind of nice, while his interests are in the environment, food, weather, culture, money, paranormal, fashion, crime, and entertainment. So his wife is Eurydice Salamis, who was a fortune sim within her lifetime. And I do think they are kind of compatible because they had some interests, and fortune sims can go well with anyone. So, she lived a long life since she did make it to elderhood, and her hair was brown before it turned gray. Her personality is kind of neat, in between shy and outgoing, serious and grouchy, and active. And her interests are in the environment, the paranormal, fashion, entertainment, and work. Now it's time to look at Circe's other family branch of the McGorks, and the first person in discussion is Moira McGork, who was a romance sim in her lifetime, which she lived a long life since she did make it to elderhood. Her hair was blonde before it turned gray. Her personality is sloppy, outgoing, lazy, kind of playful, and nice, while her interests are in the environment, money, paranormal, health, travel, crime, sports, and entertainment. Her husband is Gwythern McGork, hopefully I said that correctly, and he was a fortune sim in his lifetime. So the McGorks are a romance/fortune pairing, just like the Salamis pair that's in their generation. So his hair was red before it turned gray, and his personality was kind of neat, in between shy and outgoing, active, serious, and grouchy, while his interests are in the environment, weather, politics, travel, crime, and entertainment. Now we're going to move on to the second generation of this family branch of Circe's side, which involves Xanthos Salamis, who was a fortune sim throughout his lifetime. He lived a long life since he made it to elderhood. His hair was black before it turned gray. His personality is kind of neat, in between shy and outgoing, active, serious, and grouchy, while his interests are in food, weather, politics, fashion, travel, sports, and entertainment. He is the son of Andros and Eurydice Salamis. Grainne Salamis is Xanthos' wife and the child of Moira and Gwythern McGork, and she was a romance sim throughout her lifetime. It's interesting that all three parents of Circe's family branch were fortune/romance pairs, and I think it explains why she's kind of very unconventional, and some could say messed up, since clearly with this long line of fortune sims, she was taught how to do anything to get money, and romance sims being in marriages are generally a mess. So back to Grainne. She lived a long life since she made it to elderhood. Her hair was blonde before it turned gray, which is weird because Circe has red hair, but her parents have blonde and black hair. Anyways, her personality is sloppy, outgoing, lazy, kind of playful, and nice, while her interests are in politics, money, paranormal, health, crime, and entertainment. Now we're going to move on to the living members of the Beaker family, and no, I'm not including Nervous here. I'm going to talk about him in the Spectre/Ligmas video. So obviously the first person in discussion is Loki Beaker, who is a knowledge sim. So he was potty trained by Bjorn and learned all the other toddler skills from Gundrun. As a child, he met Circe, which isn't in her memories, aced school, and Erin was born. He got beat up by General Buzz. Erin grew up, became best friends with, and kissed Circe, with Erin growing up again all when he was a teenager. So he got a job, and his father died after he became an adult. Erin then grew into an adult, and his mother died before he got engaged to and married Circe. He got a bunch of promotions in the science career, where he is currently an inventor when the game is loaded, and adopted Nervous when he was a child. Since there are 2 negative growing up memories in Loki's memories, he must have been a child once Loki adopted him. I already discussed how the timeline of this kind of doesn't make sense, especially if you look at the age bars of Loki, Circe, and Nervous. And the adoption clearly isn't a fully legal one, since he and Circe would be Nervus's parents in the family tree, but that isn't the case at all. Loki's bio kind of hints that he doesn't get the recognition that he feels like he deserves, which is why he is so obsessed with his inventions and why he works so hard in his career. It also mentions how he keeps himself busy by trying to assemble a nuclear reactor out of common household items, which kind of just says it all. I already mentioned how he has a long lineage of romanticisms, and both of his parents were romanticisms, so I can see how this kind of messed him up mentally, as they might not have been the most attentive parents and their relationship wasn't anything to aspire by. So there are pictures of him glaring at Pascal flirting with Circe while they are teens, and the two of them getting into a fight in front of most of the other Strangetown teens. There's another photo showing him breaking his dollhouse, showing what a distressed child he was. The rest of the pictures in the family portfolio were about him experimenting with Nervus. When the game is loaded, he is 20 days away from becoming an elder. His skills involve 4 points in cooking, 5 points in logic, 2 points in creativity, and 6 points in cleaning. He is married to Circe. He's acquaintances with Erin, Nervus, Buzz, and Gwythern, and enemies with Pascal. He is shown in the same picture with Laszlo and Jenny in the family pictures, despite not having any relationships with them. His personality is neat, outgoing, active, serious, and grouchy, while his interests are in money, crime, entertainment, animals, work, toys, and sci-fi. We are going to move on to his younger sister, Erin Beaker, who is a popularity sim. So she learned how to walk and potty train from Gundrun and learned how to talk from Bjorn. Her father died shortly before she turned into a teenager. She apparently had a good birthday party and she moved out. She doesn't have a growing up memory into adulthood, and her most recent memory is her mother dying, indicating that it is recent. In general, she doesn't have many memories, and she's also absent from all of the Beaker family portfolios, so it could have shown her potentially being secluded from her brother, maybe even her family, and the other teenagers in Strangetown, where she should be present. When the game is loaded, she is 23 days from becoming an elder, so she's not much younger than her brother. When it comes to her skills, she has 1 point in charisma and 1 point in creativity. Her bio mentions that she believes that she is a psychic, but no one better tell her that. So I'm wondering if that's a way of coping with some of the trauma she dealt with as a child and with her family overall. So she is acquaintances with her brother and acquaintances with all of her roommates. Interestingly, she does not know Circe at all, so I'm wondering if Loki is intentionally keeping his sister and his wife away from one another. So her personality is kind of sloppy, kind of shy, kind of lazy, playful, and kind of nice, while her interests are in food, culture, money, the paranormal, fashion, entertainment, animals, and sci-fi. She is living with Chloe, Lola, and Kristen, and none of them seem particularly close, so it seems like this was done so they could all save money. And last but most certainly not least is Circe Beaker, who has the fortune aspiration. So she only has one memory of her toddler skills, which is learning how to walk from Grainne. She met and became best friends with Gwythern when they were children. When she was a teenager, she had first kissed with Gwythern and went steady with him, but she broke up with him soon after. Her father Xanthos died when she was a teenager, and she also kissed Loki right before growing up into an adult. She gets a job in the medicine career, where she's currently an intern when the game is loaded. Her mother died around this time. She fell in love with, got engaged, and married Loki. She moved into a house, meaning that the house they're in now could be Loki's family home. She adopted Nervus. From her memories, it seemed like she adopted him when he was a child, as he has 2 negative growing up memories, and I already mentioned how this most likely wasn't legal due to him not being linked as her son in the family tree. but this doesn't align well with all the ages of the three of them. So she is 23 days from becoming an elder when the game is loaded, meaning that she and Erin are the exact same age. When it comes to her skills, she has 3 points in the mechanical, 3 points in logic, and 5 points in cleaning. She is programmed to be bisexual, which is very rare for Sims. In her bio, it mentions that she knows 238 different ways to make someone scream, and none of them are nice, which is self-explanatory. She enjoys taxidermy and collecting coat hangers. She, like her husband, also comes from a long line of romance Sims, so I'm wondering if that played any psychological effect on her negatively as well. She is friends with townies Meredith and Abjeet, married to Loki, acquaintances with Vidkund and Nervous. In the family pictures, as well as Pascal's memories, he makes a move on her, which he rejects, and Circe is also seen in another photo with Jenny, Laszlo, and General Buzz, though these aren't shown in her relationships. Circe's personality is neat, in between shy and outgoing, active, serious, and grouchy, while her interests are in food, culture, politics, the paranormal, health, travel, entertainment, toys, and sci-fi. Now it's time to do an overall recap of the timeline that I envision for the Beakers. And again, this is just my opinion and my speculation, so it's not 100% factual. Gertrude and Canute Beaker, Ingibjorg and Leif, Halfdanarson, Andros and Eurydice Salamis, Gwythern and Moira McGork are born sometime around the 1900s and 1910s, maybe even the late 1890s. I predict that they migrate to what would become Strangetown somewhere around their youth, so maybe in the 1920s or 1930s maybe. They all get married to one another. Bjorn Beaker, Gundrun Halfdanarson, Xanthos Salamis, and Grainne McGork were born around the 1930s, and Strangetown starts to grow as a neighborhood while they are in their youth, so in the 40s, 50s, so on and so forth. The two of them become the next generation of Beakers and Salamises, and both of these relationships are unconventional messes, with 3 out of the 4 of them being romance Sims. Loki and Erin Beaker, as well as Circe Salamis, are born sometime around the late 1960s to early to mid 1970s. Loki and Erin are not very close, and all 3 of them develop weird, unconventional, and somewhat creepy personalities due to their upbringing. I forgot to mention that the first generation of Beakers and Salamises in the family tree would have died off before or around the time they were all born. So I see Bjorn, Gundrun, Xanthos, and Grainne passing away sometime around the early 1990s, as it mentions in most of the family trees that they either passed away when their children were teens or just turned into adults. And now we get closer to the modern day, where Erin somehow leaves the Beaker family household to be on her own, and eventually ends up with the Singles family, while Loki and Circe get married and adopt Nervous, which is where we end up when the game is loaded. So there really isn't much to say about the Beaker family overall. There isn't as much juiciness or salaciousness compared to the other families that I've discussed in the past or will discuss in the future. So I think I have 3 more families in Strangetown, or maybe 4 more families in Strangetown to discuss. So thank you all for viewing and listening, and I'll be back with something soon. Take care.